Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mogi Beth, and for those of y'all who are new here, I am a full-time reseller or a reseller business owner really, primarily on the Poshmark app, but I also use eBay, Mercari, and Tradesy. But today we are talking about Poshmark, and in particular, 10 terms, phrases, and functionalities used within the Poshmark app and in the reselling community. So this video is really for people like my friend Kelsey, who just started Poshmark and she's making money on there, but there are a lot of terms and a lot of phrases that are being tossed around that she's not really quite sure what they mean. So if you're a new reseller, definitely stay tuned, because we're not only going to go into what these terms mean, but also kind of how these functions work and how to potentially use them. And if you're a more experienced reseller, I think this is actually going to be a really good resource to send to your friends who are just now getting onto the Poshmark app. So you don't have to answer their 100 questions about it. You can just point them here and hopefully this will be super helpful and informative. So, okay, but without further ado, let's jump into 10 terms and phrases every Poshmark reseller should know. Oh, but one more thing, if you are completely new to Poshmark and you want to download the app, make sure you use my code MOGIBETH and you'll get $10 off your first purchase, and I'll get $10 as well, so it's a win-win. Okay. Anyways, let's get started. So the first term we're going to go over is the term BOLO. This is an abbreviation or term that I and almost every other reseller uses all the time, and we completely forget that people outside this community have no idea what it means. And typically you'll use this term used in the context of BOLO brands, which means these are brands that you should know about and be looking out for when you are sourcing inventory, either while thrifting or wherever you are sourcing inventory. I have several videos about BOLO brand lists and I'll link up the most recent one on the screen. But for new resellers, building your knowledge of BOLO brands is so key. And the way you can do this is either by watching YouTube videos, doing some research, or by looking on comps on Poshmark. And that leads me to my next term, comps. What are comps? I get that question a lot as well. And comps is a term that's used in multiple different industries, including real estate, which I have previously had my license in. But comps stand for comparables. Usually comparables sold, but comps can also pertain to what listings are currently on the market as well, both with real estate and with Poshmark. And so the main way that I check comps in a reselling sense is on Poshmark. So for instance, I will do this on my phone with y'all. Let me screen share and share it here. Okay, so let's say you found a pair of Eileen Fisher wide leg pants. And so I'll go on Poshmark and search those terms, and then I will filter through different categories. I'll go to category and select pants, wide leg. I'll go to brand and select Eileen Fisher. I'll go to color and select black. I'll go to size, and instead of my size, let's say I found these in a size large. And so from here I can also sort by low to high, I can sort by high to low, I can sort by just in. But in order to get a general idea of how much this type of item is selling for, I'm actually going to sort low to high, so I can quickly scroll through and just kind of see what the price range of this type of item is listed for. So the first one comes up at $13. That looks more like a gray. Then I'll scroll through just to see how many of this type of item is listed. Now we're already in the hundreds of dollars of range, and it ends here with a pair of $198. So this actually isn't too many items listed within this category. So that's the first thing I want to look for, is how many of that type of item is listed. Because if there are tons of items in that size, in that specific style, then I might not want to get it because that item could be oversaturated on Poshmark. But the next thing I'll look for is I'll go up to the filter availability and I'll select sold. And for this one, I'm actually going to sort by just in, because Poshmark has been around a while. So you really want to only look at sold comps that are fairly recent. You don't want to look at sold comps from 5 years ago, because the market has inevitably changed since then. So by looking through here, I'm looking, okay, what is the common price point that this type of item is sold for? So there's a pair for 55, there's a pair for 27, 15, 20, 28, 56. It looks like the longer length style might go for more than the cropped length style, which might be something that I take into consideration. It looks like if I can find the cover photo or the style name, it might go for more than if I can't. So all these things I'll take into consideration when choosing whether or not to pick something up. So the other way that you can check comps is with the online tool SellHound. And what SellHound does is it will aggregate data from several different reselling platforms and provide you with the average price of available items and sold items. So let me go on SellHound real quick and show you what I mean when it comes to Eileen Fisher wide leg pants, for example. Okay, so here I am on SellHound. I'll type in Eileen Fisher black wide leg pants. Click fetch. And I'll scroll down for results. And it's still generating them. The first one is eBay, which it says on average this item sells for $39.89, and the current average price it's listed for is $42.94. You go down to Poshmark and it's sold as $41.74. So let's click on Poshmark for a second. Actually, wait. And you'll also see there's Mercari, there's Etsy, and if there were any listed on Tradesy, they would be there too. So let's go to Poshmark for a second though. You can see current is at the top here, and these are all these listed currently, but as you can see, they're including jumpsuits, which is definitely going to skew the data pretty significantly. So that is one reason why I think that SellHound is a good tool when looking at things more generally. I think it gives you kind of a general idea of how a brand performs, but I would warn against this being your one-stop shop for searching comps. For instance, I think the numbers that provided when it came to the Eileen Fisher wide leg pants were probably much higher than what's realistic, and so checking comps does take a certain level of critical thinking skills, and this is just not going to be your one-stop shop solution. But I think SellHound is a good tool to have in your reseller back pocket. So I wanted to mention it. But as I say in nearly every video, checking comps is super critical when deciding whether or not you should purchase something. It's a skill that's really important to develop as a reseller. And Matt and I have plans to provide resources that go over this topic much more thoroughly. So stay tuned for that. But hopefully this gives you a general idea of the concept. Okay. So now I want to go over a few terms and abbreviations that are used really commonly on the Poshmark app. And then later we'll get into some of the features on Poshmark and the functionality of those features. So the first term I want to go over is used really often. It's NWT, and that stands for new with tag. And just a note, I will put NWT at the very top of my title. So it's the first thing I'll put in my title if the item I'm listing has tags attached to it and is new, because that is a pretty significant selling feature and definitely something to know and make your buyers aware of. The next is NWOT, and this stands for new without tag. Just a note, if you find something in the thrift store and even if it feels like it's new, don't mark it as new without tag. This really, I think, is a term that should be used, for instance, when you buy it at a retail store. Say you buy something at Marshall's and the only tag attached to the item is a Marshall's tag, a discount Marshall's tag. I typically want to cut that kind of tag off, and so in that case I would mark it new without tag. And then the next one is EUC, which stands for excellent used condition. I actually prefer to use the term excellent pre-owned condition when describing the condition of items that I purchase at the thrift store that are in excellent condition, because I think the term pre-owned sounds a lot nicer than used, but you might come across this term as well, EUC, over on Poshmark. And then the last abbreviation that I wanted to make sure to cover is TTS. And this stands for true to size. I get this question a lot. Is this item TTS, which they mean is this item true to size? And this is especially true for shoes. And I just wanted to share my response when I get that question, especially when it comes to shoes. I'll usually Google the style name of that shoe and look at any previous reviews that have been on different retailers. Zappos usually provides that info, Nordstrom provides that info, and a few other different retailers will as well. And they will specifically ask the reviewer to rate whether something is true to size, too big, or too small. And so that aggregate data is usually provided at the top of the reviews. And so if I can find that information, I will usually share that with the buyer and just say, according to reviews online, these are either true to size, too big, or too small. Let me know if you have any questions, any other questions. However, if I'm not able to find that information, which definitely happens, then what I'll do is I'll measure the insole of the shoe, and I will tell the buyer that information so that they can compare that measurement with any shoes they have in their own personal wardrobe that fit really well for them. So that is my answer to that question, because I get a lot of questions basically assuming that this is an item from my own personal wardrobe and I have personal experience wearing it, even if it is new with tag. And so I like to always try to provide as much information as I can. And I've just learned different ways of doing that, even when an item doesn't fit me personally. And just as an aside, when I get questions asking, can I model? Or I'll get questions asking for my weight or my height or something like that, I politely decline those questions and say I can offer measurements, or are there any other measurements I could provide instead? And usually that provides a certain level of customer service that buyers are happy with. But yeah, TTS, true to size, definitely something to know over on Poshmark. Okay, so now let's go over some of the features on Poshmark that aren't necessarily super intuitive, that you might be wanting a little bit more explanation on. The first feature I want to go over, and this is actually something my friend Kelsey asked me about, is the bundle feature. Because Poshmark has a flat rate shipping label for any purchase under 5 pounds, a lot of buyers prefer to buy several items at once so that they only have to pay for that shipping cost one time. So prior to 2015, buyers and sellers were kind of creating bundle listings, but then Poshmark released the bundle feature. And this was a simple enough feature that just allowed buyers to select different items in a person's closet, put them into a bundle, and then either buy outright or send an offer to that seller. Poshmark also has another feature under My Seller Tools called My Seller Discount. I'll show this on the screen. It allows you to offer an automatic discount if a buyer bundles a certain amount of items. Okay, so however, the bundle feature got a little bit tricky when Poshmark subsequently rolled out another feature called Seller Stylists in 2017. And in my opinion, Seller Stylists was probably one of the worst features rolled out on Poshmark, and it was a pretty big flop, and it still exists today in some form or another. I'm not going to go over it too much because my advice is to just ignore it and don't turn on this feature. But what it is and what it was is it allows people to request styling from you. I think the thought process behind it was that, you know, if you owned a boutique and someone walked into your store, you'd be able to style them. So if I went in again to my seller tools and selected Posh Stylist settings and turned on allow me to style others, I then get notifications from people basically requesting me to style them. The problem with this is most of these people either don't really know what that means or what they're doing, or if they do, they aren't requesting styling specifically from me. Usually, in my experience, these people are new to Poshmark, they don't really know what they're doing, and they're kind of on the feed and they see something from Poshmark that says request styling. But I've also heard people who never even click that button who then get styling sent to them. So this, I guess, potentially was a way that Poshmark wanted to generate leads for sellers, but it really very rarely actually leads to any kind of sale. So I turned that feature off, and I would recommend you do that too. It's generally just a big waste of time for both buyers and sellers in my opinion. But in 2018, Poshmark released what I think is its best offer to date, which is offers to likers, which totally changed everything and definitely changed the bundling feature as well. Offers to likers gives sellers the ability to send an offer to anyone who likes an item. And in case you're new, I'll quickly show you how to do this. Okay, so I'm on my news feed here on Poshmark, and I see that somebody liked this swimsuit top. So I click on the listing, and then on the bottom right hand corner it says offer/price drop. So I'll go to offer, I'll click offers to likers, and then I'll click on this little calculator symbol under your offer, and I will select 20% off, and I'll offer the shipping discount, and then I'll click submit. Then it'll say congrats, your offer is currently being sent to your likers. Okay. So when sending offers to likers, there are a few things to keep in mind. Every single offer to liker that you send must be at least 10% under the current asking price and must include a shipping discount, either the $4.99 shipping or free shipping. Every offer to liker that you send does have a 24-hour period in which that liker can accept your offer. You can't send the same exact offer to the same liker within a 90-day period. However, you can send a further discounted offer to that same liker, but it has to be discounted by 10% more than the previous offer. So if your first offer was 10% off asking price, then your next offer has to be at least 20% off asking price, for example. So this really changed the interaction between buyers and sellers on Poshmark, and it really opened up the ability for the first point of negotiation to come either from the buyer or the seller. And this is especially important when it comes to bundles, because what you can do is share items from your closet into a bundle for a potential buyer and then send an offer on that bundle. And I think this is really useful when there's someone who likes multiple items within your closet. And it's not super intuitive how to do this, so I also want to make sure I show you how to do it up on the screen here too. So I'm on my news feed here, and I'm going to go up on the top to likes. And what I'm basically going to do is look for a person who has liked multiple items. And I see that this person has liked 2 items within my closet. So what I'll do is click on this person, and on the top right hand corner, I'll see a little shopping bag symbol. This is the bundle symbol, and then it'll be my bundle. And so from here, I'll click on the top right hand corner and click switch to sell view. And at the bottom, I can see all the items that she has liked. So most recently, she liked these top 2. So I'm going to share this to her by clicking that little share icon, and then her name should pop up right away. So I'll click that twice. and then I'll send her. At this point, my camera got cut off, but what I was saying is that I sent her an offer with a shipping discount and then wrote a little note to her saying, "Hi there, I love the items you have liked in my closet. I sent over an offer on a couple of them. Let me know if I can answer any questions. Hope you're having a fabulous weekend." All right, post. So you certainly don't want to spam this, feature. You don't want to just start sending bundled offers to any random person because frankly, I think that's less productive use of time than listing. But especially for people who like multiple items in your closet, I think this is super helpful, and it just gives the sellers a lot more flexibility and just a lot more tools in order to create the conditions upon which a buyer feels comfortable and excited to make a purchase. So there's a lot of different strategies you can use with the offers to likers plus bundling feature, and in a lot of ways, the bundling feature has become a way to just message the buyer because Poshmark doesn't currently have a messaging feature similar to Mercari. So if you know how to use it in that way, that can also be helpful. And a lot of buyers, I realize, don't quite know how to use that. So if you're a seller who does, it's oftentimes helpful to be able to reach out to them and provide that space where you can have a dialogue. Yeah, definitely a feature to know. It's super important. It was only rolled out really a couple of years ago. And if you haven't watched my 5 tips video, which I'll link up on the screen, offers to likers is a massive part of my business model and something that I recommend you definitely integrate into yours. Okay, so number 9 on this list of 10 is cases that are opened. Dun dun dun. Woo. If you are a new posher, the idea of a case being opened or having your first case to open can be really filled with anxiety. But 9.9 out of 10 times, it's completely fine and it's nothing to really worry about too much. To just give you a point of reference, I have sold over 3,500 different items and I've never been scammed. I've never had a scam situation happen. So don't go automatically into panic mode if that happens. I'll just walk you through it real quickly on what that looks like. So Poshmark doesn't offer returns unless the item sold meets one of the 4 following criteria. Number 1, undisclosed damage. Number 2, incorrect or missing item. Number 3, and the one probably most commonly used, item not as described. Or number 4, item is not authentic. So if the buyer believes that their item that they purchase matches one of the 4 criteria mentioned previously, then they have 3 days upon receiving the item to open a case. And when they open a case, they can explain why they think it matches one of those criteria and then also offer photos. Once they submit that case, you as a seller will be notified and you'll have the opportunity to respond to that case either by supplying photos and or writing out an explanation or writing out some kind of response, and then a representative from Poshmark will make the decision to either approve the case or deny the case. If the case is approved, then the buyer will receive a prepaid shipping return label that Poshmark pays for, and will have 5 days to return the item. And if they do not return the item within those 5 days, then the earnings will be released and they will have to keep the item. I will usually receive returns, a few returns a month. I'm selling pretty decent amount of volume, so that's pretty normal for me. But for instance, this past weekend, I had 2 cases open. One was actually because the buyer thought that I had sent them the wrong item, but was actually opening a completely different package and had just lost my package, and the neighbor gave it to them and it was fine. So that case should be denied, and we had a cordial correspondence, and luckily, hopefully everything will turn out fine. But if the package had been lost, then also Poshmark deals with that differently. Usually it's not by a case basis, but Poshmark will instead release the earnings and also refund the buyer. And then they'll take it up with the USPS. And that's actually a really great benefit to sellers as well. And then the other case that I had opened against me this weekend was for an Eileen Fisher jacket that I sold last week, and I had mentioned that it was new without tag because I had purchased it from a retailer, but when they received the item, there was pilling all on the inside of it that I had missed. So I went ahead and apologized for my mistake. I accepted the case, and at this point Poshmark should also approve the case and then provide that buyer with a return label, which again I will not have to pay for, which is such a nice benefit of selling on Poshmark. And that's really why I don't mind when cases are open against me. Worst comes to worst, it's returned back to me, and then Poshmark has now made it super easy to relist that item by just copying that listing. I could easily, for that Eileen Fisher jacket for example, relist it, change the description, add a couple more photos to be more accurate, and then go about my day, go along my way. And that's the thing, is that, you know, everybody makes mistakes. But luckily, at the end of the day, we're not making life or death decisions here. These are just clothes. And of course, sometimes you will have cases open that make you roll your eyes or that are just really ridiculous. And a lot of times, often, Poshmark will approve those cases as well. So, you know, it's just part of doing business, and, you know, worst comes to worst, usually, hopefully, the item's just coming back to you just as you sent it, and you can just relist it and move on with your day and keep on reselling. Just try your very best not to ruminate over it too much, because it's really not the worst thing in the world at all. And then the last term that I want to go over is actually not super Poshmark specific, but it is a term that's thrown around in the reseller community a lot, and I get questions on it, and that is, what are the bins? What do people mean when they say they're going to the bins? And what they mean is that they're going to the Goodwill outlet. Goodwill outlets are very different from Goodwill thrift stores. At outlet locations of Goodwill, big, like really big plastic bins of clothing or shoes or hard goods are rolled out onto the floor, and then people are allowed to sift through them using their hands. And then when they're ready to pay, people can pay by the pound instead of per item. Not every state has Goodwill locations. In my home state of Kansas, there were no Goodwill outlets. The closest I had was in Kansas City, Missouri, or in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And both of those bins I've been to were very different than the bins here in Portland, Oregon. And so not all bins or Goodwill outlets are made the same. They can differ a lot based off the size of them, based off the cleanliness of them, based off how much you pay per pound. But if you have one fairly close to you, I would really recommend you going and checking it out, because it's a super interesting experience, and I have plans to show y'all, bring y'all along with me to the bins on this channel sometime soon. If you do go, be sure, especially right now, to wear a face mask. You might want to wear gloves. I personally choose not to wear gloves just because I feel like I have to feel a good quality item in order to really pull it out and look at it. But I make sure I wash my hands really thoroughly when I'm done, because you can grab, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. A lot of times it's just raw donations. So, you know, wet things, dirty things, it's just, it's the wild, wild west at the bins. But yeah, make sure to wash your hands really well. And every single location, every different state has different rules, has different rotation schedules, has different etiquette, just a little bit of different things on each one. So it's a little bit intimidating when you first go, just because there are so many regulars who really know the system down pat. So if you can make friends with one of the regulars there, they can oftentimes be helpful, but also the employees can be a super helpful resource if you have any questions especially when it comes to the rules or how it works. And again, at the end of the day, it's just clothes. So, you know, go out there, make mistakes, get your hands a little dirty, and just try it out. You know, I think it's a good experience and definitely a very valuable sourcing opportunity for resellers, because per item, it is just so much cheaper to shop at the bins than virtually anywhere else. Okay, well, that is it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions about what I covered, or if there's a Poshmark feature that I didn't cover that you're curious about, let me know in the comments down below, because I just kind of skimmed the surface on a lot of these, or I didn't really even cover all of the features and all of the different parts of Poshmark. So again, Matt and I are creating resources that will go over a bunch of these things more thoroughly, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, hope this was helpful. I hope y'all are having a fabulous day. Love y'all so much. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye. Oh, and y'all check out these other videos as well. I think there's a playlist right up here that goes over all the different videos that I have that really, I think, are super helpful for resellers. And y'all, thank you so much for being here. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Okay, bye.